As I announced yesterday, and in order to manage your expectation, I'm going to give my report and it will take some 35 minutes. So look at your watch. Members of the Board of Governors, faculty members, staff and students, dear guests, أعداء وعدوات مجلس الأمناء، أعداء وعدوات هيئة التدريس وهيئة الدرية الطلاب والطالبات على الضيوف الأعزاء. I made it. חברי וחברות חבר הנאמנים, אנשי ונשות סגל אקדמי ומנהלי, סטודנטים וסטודנטיות, אורחים יקרים, good morning and welcome, סבח אל חיר, ואהלן וסהלן בכם. בוקר טוב וברוכים הבאים. I want to prepare, 3 years ago have passed since I first addressed this assembly. It's very funny how time flies when you are having fun. Now standing before you near the end of my term, I am proud to report on our ongoing efforts to establish the University of Haifa's position as an institution of academic excellence, both locally and internationally. As a research university, the cornerstone of our efforts is in developing high-quality research, promoting knowledge, and imparting knowledge to subsequent generations. Despite being the youngest university in Israel, the University of Haifa has developed many distinctive fields of knowledge and many domains of excellence, from research in marine sciences to education, from law and cybernetics to Holocaust studies, from neurobiology and evolution to American Jewish studies. And these are only a few examples of the wide variety of research and fields of study within the University of Haifa. I believe that our university plays a very important role in promoting science in Israel and in the rest of the world, in strengthening the state of Israel, and in continuing Israel's development toward becoming a better place to live in for the future generations, irrespective of religion, ethnicity, or gender. I will further elaborate on the progress of research and teaching on our university later on, and the rector of the university will also speak to this matter. As you know, I believe that University of Haifa has two especially prominent and unique features above and beyond research and teaching that make it particularly important for strengthening Israel and its society economically and in terms of its security. First, the University of Haifa is distinctive by virtue of its location and its status as the largest research university in the north of Israel. From the heights of the university tower, one can see the border with Lebanon and with Syria to the north, and the heart of Israel to the south. A strong academic institution in the north of Israel is one of the most important conditions for the continued existence and prosperity of this geographic and demographic area. The University of Haifa's uniqueness also derives from its second salient feature, namely the unique composition of the student population and faculty members, which reflects more than any other institution in the country the human mosaic that constitutes Israeli society. We provide higher education to the greatest number of Israeli security establishment forces, to Jewish people coming from all sectors of Israeli society and the Jewish diaspora, as well as to the largest number of Druze, Arab, and Christian students. We provide higher education for Jewish Orthodox students, and we are also proud to provide academic programs for foreign students who come from the four corners of the world to study at our university. I'm proud of this distinctive feature of the university, despite the administrative and financial challenges it raises. I believe that the state of Israel has an obligation to create the common ground that is necessary condition for any democratic civil society, regardless of the different belief systems and political views of its citizens. Creating common ground for Israel's citizens is not merely a social value. It is essential for preserving Israel's existence and prosperity. The importance of research at the university is twofold. Research is the essence of the university's existence. It also the basis of the university's budget. Some 18% of the university's budget is based on the Planning and Budgeting Committee's PBC allocations, which are granted in proportion to our research output and academic level. The quality of our research also influences the university's reputation, its ability to raise resources, its capacity to attract outstanding faculty and staff members, and promising students. Last year, we identified a weakness in the research management process which considerably influenced our research performance. The research management process is complex, and it cuts across the entire university's organizational system. We therefore invested a lot of thought and resources in order to make it more efficient. Mr. Baruch Marzan, Vice President and Director General, headed the committee that examined the topic and generated recommendations. The change process began about a year ago and is now in its final stages. It focused on centralizing the entire research management activity within the Research Authority, led by Vice President and Dean of Research, Professor Michal Yerushalmi. This is the largest and most comprehensive reform that the university has ever undertaken regarding such a central process, and its full implementation will gradually lead to a significant streamlining of the bureaucratic procedure that researchers have had to tackle in the past. The new research management process expresses the University of Haifa's advantage in being a small and relatively young organization, and will enable it to better compete with other universities in terms of supporting systems that are available for researchers. I'm confident that as a consequence of the reform, the number of faculty members who apply for and are awarded grants will increase, and research productivity will grow accordingly. This year, we took great pleasure in learning that the University of Haifa's share of the national research pie increased from 5.7% to 5.9%. This data reflects research indexes dating from 2 years ago, and I therefore believe that the research management reform, along with improvements in other processes, will reinforce this trend and expedite the growth in research productivity in the future. The recruitment of new faculty members is the most significant process in shaping the future of academic excellence at the University of Haifa. In the year 2013-14, 39 new faculty members from the best academic institution in the world joined our ranks. We set uncompromised standards when recruiting new faculty members, even when this commitment to excellence means that an open faculty position remains unfilled. In our efforts to recruit leading researchers, we face fierce competition from the best institution in the world. To stay competitive, we must invest heavily in research infrastructures. This is also the time to thank our friends of the university who have generously assisted us in securing the necessary resources to recruit new faculty members. Unfortunately, our supporters, Paul and Herta Amir and Maurice Kanbar, couldn't be with us today. We thank them, and we thank many others who contributed to recruiting new faculty members. They deserve applaud. This year again, we won an ERC grant, the European Union's most prestigious grant. Professor Guy Bar-Oz from the Department of Archaeology was awarded the ERC grant for his research, which focuses on Negev cities during the Byzantine period that thrived up until the 7th century and was then suddenly abandoned. One interesting archaeological find was charred grape seeds dating back 1,500 years. Professor Bar-Oz hopes to better understand why wine produced in the Negev was at that time considered the finest wine in the entire Byzantine Empire. Again this year, we continued to solidify our position as the leading university in marine research. After having won the bid of the Council of Higher Education, which has chosen University of Haifa 3 years ago to be the institution that will lead the establishment of the Mediterranean Sea Research Center of Israel. We signed a first-of-its-kind agreement with the Israeli Oceanographic and Limnological, Research Institution, which is the governmental research institution for sea research. Within the framework of this agreement, we will establish research labs of the university within the institute and conduct joint research initiatives with it. These research labs, which are currently being established, is thanks to the $7 million donation made by the Helmsley Charitable Trust. The donation will also enable the acquisition of a $4 million autonomous underwater vehicle, which will give researchers the means to investigate the sea at depth of up to 3,000 meters, which is 10,000 feet. We are very proud of the progress the university has made in the field of marine research. The University of Haifa began to develop this field 40 years ago with a gift from the Recanati family. 8 years ago, we established the Leon Charney School of Marine Sciences with a gift of Leon Charney and Mr. Ernest Strauss, who is with us today and deserves applaud. And since then, have significantly strengthened our position within the academic community. And there is more to come. Thanks to the generous gift from Sir Maurice and Lady Irene Hatter, we are establishing Israel's first Department of Marine Technologies. Unfortunately, shortly after Sir Maurice Hatter arrived in Israel on last Friday or Thursday, he began to feel under weather, and he and Lady Irene cannot be with us during the Board of Governors meeting. We send him our warmest wishes for a speedy recovery. As part of the 5-year plan for strengthening the university's international standing, an effort led by our rector, Professor David Faraji, we have signed international agreement with 22 institutions this year. Recently, we signed an agreement with the East China Normal University, which sets out the terms for various collaborations across different fields. And these are just few examples of the exciting research activities taking place at our university. I am pleased to announce that against this year, student registration trends continue to show growth. The current academic year opened with a record of 18,000 students. We have made many improvements to the university's infrastructure, renovated old classrooms, build new classrooms, and so forth. We also continue to invest resources in the domain of e-learning. The advantages and challenges presented by the new technologies for the world of education is a topic which occupies academic institutions all around the world. We too are working on developing systems and methods for harnessing new technologies in order to improve the quality of teaching without, of course, compromising the benefits of group learning in classrooms. The University of Haifa has an advantage in this field in comparison with other universities in Israel. We already offer 75 full courses entirely online, and 25% of our students participate in at least one online course. We are guided in our actions by the belief that quality academic teaching in the 21st century will use online teaching as a complementary activity together with traditional learning. In addition to improving our teaching infrastructure, we are constantly investing resources in the development of the university's physical infrastructure. Recently, we received funding from the Planning and Budgeting Committee to build a new student dormitory building that will enable us to add 500 new beds. We are currently seeking additional funding to launch the project. A generous gift from Sir Maurice and Lady Irene Hatter enabled us to complete construction of an essential pedestrian bridge this year that will allow students to safely cross the road from the parking areas into the campus. Isn't it beautiful? We have also begun the construction of a new building for the Faculty of Social Welfare and Health Sciences. And here too, we give thanks to Mr. Aaron Spencer for his generous gift that enabled us to launch the Department of Nursing in memory of his daughter, the late Cheryl Spencer. We are also raising funds to construct a new building for the Faculty of Law. On this occasion, I want to mention that the first building was built thanks to the generous donation given by Kornhauser Eddie, whose daughter, Mrs. Richie Schwartz, is with us today. We have already succeeded in raising an initial contribution for this goal, and we continue to search for other resources of funding. The construction will begin after we have raised the necessary resources to complete this project, and there is no one single day that Gadi Barzilai doesn't remind me this project. In addition to these two buildings, further construction is required for the Faculty of Social Sciences and the Faculty of Natural Sciences in order to enable these faculties to continue to develop. And again, there is no one single day where these two deans, Professor Gustavo Mesh and Professor Eddie Barkai, are not sitting on my head. The regular budget for the academic year of 2014-15 is now 835 million new Israeli shekel compared with performance of 829 million shekel in the academic year 2013-14. The total scholarships given in 2013-14 out of the regular budget was 39.3 million shekel, compared with 35 million shekel in the year 2012-2013. In addition to the scholarships taken out of the regular budget, additional scholarships were given out of the closed budget and research budget, totaling 22.9 million shekel, compared with 18.7 million shekel in 2012-2013. Despite the increase, our scholarship budget doesn't adequately meet the needs of our 18,000 students. I would like to use this occasion to thank the entire staff of the Division of Finance and Control headed by Vice President of Finance, Mr. Shuki Shai, for their work on every stage of our budget and by his relentless efforts that no one number that I give you will be false. In terms of fundraising, the 2013-14 academic year concluded with a total of $23.3 million raised, an all-time record compared with $20.4 million raised in the previous academic year and 17.8 in 2011-2012. This is an increase of 30% in 2 years. We consider the significant investments made by the business sector in our research project via the Carmel Corporation as a significant step forward. During the passing year, Carmel raised $3 million for direct support in research and project, an increase of 500% compared with the previous year. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Mrs. El-Kanir, CEO of Carmel, and Mr. Doron Birger, chairman of the company, who have ably led the successful fundraising efforts. In sum, the fundraising total, including investment in research and philanthropic donations, and in order to avoid any misunderstanding, it doesn't include, of course, research grants that are awarded to researchers, reached to $25.6 million, increase of 40% since 2011-2012. Noteworthy examples in this context are Professor Sarit Larish, who secured an investment of $600,000 for cancer research, and Professor Kobi Rosenblum, who obtained an investment of $500,000 for his research dealing with Alzheimer's disease, and more other investments were given also to a researcher from other faculties. We devote a great deal of energy and resources in developing our fundraising systems and supporting our fundraising professionals, both in Israel and abroad, so that we can continue to grow our donations in the coming years. Our fundraising system is still much smaller than our competitors, but we can view with great satisfaction what has already been achieved. There is no doubt in my mind that we are moving in the right direction. Beyond easily quantifiable achievements, such as money in the bank, I would like to share with you one story that is evidence of our strengthening connections with the communities around the world. In April, I participated in the ceremony awarding an honorary doctorate degree to Dr. Ernie Haberman in Toronto, Canada. More than 700 people participated in the event from the pillars of the Jewish community, Canadian government. This represents the largest number of people that has ever attended such a university event and will serve as a catalyst for ongoing fundraising activities aided by Dr. Haberman. A round of applause for the event organizing for Mrs. Hetty Shapira, by the way, not a relative of mine. Applaud. Our friend Tony Comper and the entire team in the Division of External Relations and Resources Development, led by Vice President Mr. Yariv Sultan. Where are you? It is important for me to emphasize that all of these achievements in the domain of fundraising would not have been possible without the contribution of the members of the Board of Governors, led by Professor Alfred Tauber, who has been working night and day ever since he came into the office to strengthen our ties with our friends and supporters around the world, and has also made a generous personal contribution for the promotion of different activities in the universities
and in doing so has set an extraordinary personal example. Also worthy of note is the contribution made by the chairman of the executive committee, Mr. Ami Ayalon, who has made every effort for strengthening our connections with the supporters of the University of Haifa in Israel and abroad. Thank you very much, Alfred and Ami. We cannot sum up this year without mentioning Operation Protective Edge, a nationally significant event that impacted Israel's security and affected all of its inhabitants. Though the fighting was located in the south, we also felt the impact of the operation here in the north. Over 400 students and faculty members were recruited for reserve duty, with a number of these students forced to miss summer exams. We promised them to help every student and faculty member that was recruited, and we have succeeded thanks to a special fundraising campaign that we initiated. I would like to use this occasion to express once again my gratitude to all of our friends who supported this special campaign. Yet, the disruption to the academic schedule, important as it may be, was not the main damage that we sustained. 67 soldiers and 5 Israeli citizens were killed during the 50 days of fighting. The university community was not spared. Professor Yosef Tovi lost his grandson, Second Lieutenant Yuval Hyman. Hannah Kreutenberg lost her nephew, Captain Zvika Kaplan. And the student Gal Carmeli lost her brother, Staff Sergeant Nissim Shon Carmeli. I know that you join me in praying that last summer's war was the last, and that we will not see further loss of lives in Israel and the region. Another topic in which I invest much attention is the topic of public relations in the media. This is an important issue since the media has a pivotal impact on universities' image and our ability to raise resources and recruit faculty and students. In this domain as well, we have reached some outstanding achievements. Since I believe in objective and professional assessments, we were helped by an external company that performed a quantitative assessment of the university media footprint, both positive and negative, and compared with this with other universities in Israel. In this field, we are ranked number 3 in Israel after the Hebrew University and Tel Aviv University, and this is while we are having no media coverage in medicine and engineering. Faculties which do not exist at the University of Haifa. For this, I would like to thank the team of communication and media relations headed by Mr. Ilan Yavelberg, university spokesperson, and the Amir Dan Einat Oren company that helps us with the public relation. So far, you have heard from my report on our advancement in many fields, in research, in study programs, in student recruitment, in physical infrastructures, in fundraising, and even in media coverage. Indeed, there is a much cause of satisfaction thanks to the efforts made by each and every one of the faculty and administrative staff. Beyond the topics I have discussed up to this point, we have also been working on strengthening our managerial and competitive ability. Yeah, this is Mr. Blatt, our Blatt. Our managerial and competitive ability in order to be able to manage processes and make decisions in a more rational way, to be able to assess in the most objective way possible where we are advancing and making progress, and also where we need to improve further. Sometimes this was not easy and still is not an easy process. I believe that today the university's management and our entire community are better able to compete and to implement our wonderful vision. But this process should be continued, and even in a faster path. Vision alone, without an operative and managerial abilities, is like a bird without wings, is like the difference between vision and illusion. 3 years ago, I first stood here in front of you when I accepted the presidency of this wonderful university. I was enthusiastic about the vision of this university, and I well understood the great challenge that confronted me. As president of a university that is younger than its competitors and faces fierce competition in every field in its battle for establishing its position in the academia. The role of the academia is to create, maintain, and disseminate knowledge, all types of knowledge, regardless of financial gains. The soul of the academia is the freedom to investigate and explore, express opinions, and also criticize. But this academic spirit, which is of the utmost importance, is pursued in a competitive environment and under constraint of limits and priorities. This tension between the spirit and the physical reality is precisely the fascinating challenge of leading an academic institution. We have a compelling and exciting vision. What can be more compelling than the aspiration to create academic excellence here in the north of Israel, and in doing so, be an example of coexistence that creates a common denominator for all of the group that comprising Israeli society, which are better represented in our campus more than anywhere else in Israel. All of these are so important for the future of the country, for all of us. These have been a fascinating 3 years for me, and I thank the executive committee, the entire board of governors, and the entire academic and administrative staff, and all of our supporters in Israel and the world for the great privilege that I have been granted. I also want to give special thanks to my colleague at the management team who worked and suffered me for 3 years. Unfortunately for them, they are not going to get rid of me very soon. In 1 year and 4 months, I shall conclude my office. The university's constitution requires that the process of electing a new president will start in the coming months, given that I do not see myself continuing in this role until the year 2020, which is the end of the second tenure. I have thought it right to inform the chairman of the board of governors and to the executive chairman of the executive committee, as I've already did some months ago, and thus enable an organized process of electing a new president. At the board of the governors meeting next year, the new elected president will speak before you. Until the end of my office, I shall continue to work without cease to do my best to promote this important and wonderful university as I've done so far, and to accompany the new elected president. And at the end of my speech, how much it was? How much time? Okay. I would like to thank my office, the wonderful ladies, Libby and Aviva. Thank you, shukran lakum, and toda rabah.